Hello and welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Anxious. I'm Rebecca and I am here to document my journey to bariatric surgery and beyond. I am getting the vertical sleeve gastrectomy on January 16th, 2021 at Blossom Bariatrics in Las Vegas. My stats are down below in the comments, as well as links to my Instagram and whatever else I feel is, necessary to link. All right, so let's get more personal a little bit in this, I don't know if we call this an episode or a video. Last time I said that I wanted to talk about rock bottom and my feelings leading up to the surgery, but I realized kind of in preparation for this, and once again I have notes off to the side, so if I keep looking, that's what I'm looking at. But in preparation for this, I realized that I have too much to say. And last week's video, or not last week's, yeah, whatever, my last video, whenever that was, whenever I post this, was 20 minutes long, and that is plenty. We don't need to go longer than that. So today is about my rock bottom, like what got me to choosing this surgery. My rock bottom started about 1.5 years ago, September 2019. I had gone on my 1-year wedding anniversary trip with my husband to visit my family in Tahoe, California. And while there, I was pretty excited about being active. My mom is very active. My stepdad's very active. I love Tahoe. Tahoe in the summer is like the best place in the world. And I was excited to be active. And not long before that, I had been having a lot of back problems and unfortunately had some discrimination happen at the doctor, where basically I was just dismissed as a fat person with back problem. So therefore, the answer must be that I just need to work out. So I had started working out, and my back problem was improving. It's still there. It's still not great, but the point is it was improving incrementally. It was improving better than all the times I had gone to physical therapy previous to that. So I felt good. I felt strong. I felt like I could be active on this trip. So I had called my mom and kind of planned a couple activities. So when we were down there, we rafted the Truckee River. We swam a lot in Donner Lake. We ski-dooed around Donner Lake, which was a lot of fun. And one thing I really wanted to do was I wanted to kayak. Now, I have not been kayaking since probably my early 20s, when I was below 250 pounds at that point. I was in my low 200s. And all I remember still was that it was fun. And I like being active, and I wanted to do that. And my parents had just bought kayaks, so I was like, okay, this is something we can all do together. My husband isn't really fond of swimming. I'm definitely the water person, but he's not. So I thought, okay, he's above the water. He doesn't have to swim. It'll be easy. But I had been concerned about the weight limit on kayaks, and so I had actually had my mom call ahead of time and check, and they had assured us, don't worry, we've got some sea kayaks that can carry like 600 pounds, and I was like, I know I'm not 600 pounds, so we're good. And so they assured us that they could accommodate my weight. So basically I was excited to go kayaking with my family. Instead, that ended up being the beginning of my rock bottom. And this is where things get not fun for me to tell, honestly. I'm not somebody who gets embarrassed. I don't get embarrassed easily. And yet this is probably the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me, the most embarrassing moment at least. And the truth is, it was only embarrassing for me. I don't think really anybody else besides my own family even noticed anything like had gone wrong, but I was mortified. So when we showed up to the beach to rent the kayaks, it was incredibly crowded. You know, this was pre-COVID, so incredibly crowded beach, tons of people everywhere, hot day. We wait in line, we rent the kayak, and it turns out to be this 2-person sea kayak. And they're in a rush. They're getting people like on the ski-doos and on the kayaks and on the paddle boards, and they're just like sending people out. And so they kind of rushed me and my husband over to this kayak, and my husband got in the front and I got in the back because I weigh more and you put the weight in the back. And I just remember I sat down and didn't feel like I fit, that my butt didn't quite fit in the seat. But I thought, well, maybe if I'm able to because I felt like I was sitting at an angle like this, and I thought maybe if I could scoot my butt back and get my back upright, then it'd be fine. But I couldn't seem to do that, and then there were literally people yelling at us, telling us to okay, are you ready? Here's a paddle. All right, let's get out on the water. Go. And my mom's like, go, it's gonna be fun. We'll see you out there because we're gonna go launch our kayaks over here. And there was just this pressure, and they had the seat that I was sitting in. I was sitting on top of a kayak, because a sea kayak, you're on top, not underneath. It's a wider based kayak. It's supposed to be more stable. And I had this back of the seat was not made of plastic. It was made of just like a squishy foam. And I literally I was sitting at a 45-degree angle. I felt like I was doing a sit-up the whole time. And I remember I couldn't put my legs in properly because, unfortunately, one of the not so great things about being fat, and I may make a video at some point about all the lovely things about being fat that I won't miss, is that your hips you can't put your legs like this. Your hips kind of cock out and your legs end up a little bit like this. And so I couldn't bend my knees, and sit in a kayak like this. Instead, my knees were like this, and it was like I was doing this, basically a sit-up, and then I had the paddle in my hands, and they literally just shoved us out into the water, and I just remember being like, hold on, I'm not comfortable. And then next thing I know, we're in the water. So imagine doing a constant sit-up when you're almost 400 pounds and trying to balance on a kayak when you haven't been on a kayak in a decade, and your husband's never been on a kayak before, and he's not the best swimmer, so you're a little bit concerned about us going in the water and flipping over. I know I can handle it. I don't panic as easily when I go in the underwater unexpectedly, but I was a little concerned about him, even if we were wearing life jackets. The whole thing, I was just instant panic mode, so uncomfortable, and I felt like my whole core was just burning. I was on fire, and I felt like I was 2 seconds away from tipping us over. So I remember basically being like, we need to go back to shore. We need to go back to shore right now. And we had already gone out into the deeper water, and so my husband luckily listened to me and turned us around and got us back to shore. And then we got to shore, and the people are literally like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go back out there. Go back out there. And I'm like, get me the fuck off of this kayak right now. And there are people yelling at us. And then there was this whole line of people watching. There was a whole fucking audience. And my mother's coming running over, what's happening? What's happening? Is everything okay? Because she's concerned, because what the heck are we doing back on land? And I'm sitting there unable to get out of the kayak because the kayak was below my butt and my knees were up here and my butt was down below, and I can't stand up basically straight from the ground straight up. I have to contort myself. I knew there was no way I was getting out of that kayak without basically rolling over and flopping into the water like a fish, getting soaking wet, and then climbing up. So I start yelling at my husband, you need to get me up. You need to get me up. He pulls me up, luckily. And I took off. I disappeared. I took off. I didn't tell anybody where I was going. I just left. I just ran. I left. And I was so overwhelmed that I felt like puking. It was just one of the most embarrassing moments and awful moments where I just realized that my body couldn't do the thing that I wanted to do. And now this isn't the first time I'd realized that. I did play soccer a few years ago, indoor soccer, and I love it. I love soccer. I love playing sports, but it was kind of the same situation. I think my first game, I tripped over my own foot and did a face plant, and the ball was nowhere near me. And it was just because my body can't do what my brain wants it to do. And it's very disorienting. You know, I had this memory of kayaking. I knew what I needed to do, but my body physically wouldn't do it. So I basically bolted, and I went and I cried, and I hated myself, and I felt sorry for myself. You know, I am going to admit that I unfortunately contemplated some suicidal thoughts in that moment as well. But the good news is that passed very quickly. And I'm definitely somebody who likes to fix things. I want to find a solution for things immediately. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like sitting in my uncomfortableness, which is something I'm working on. But I knew that I needed to fix this. So I made a decision. And when my husband and my mom finally came back over and found me and were like, what happened? I was just like, I'm going to try to lose this weight one more time. One more big effort, everything I got. And if it doesn't work, then I'll get the surgery. And that's what I told them. Now, that might sound like it came out of nowhere, but the truth is I've been contemplating this surgery since 2011 when I was closer to about 280 pounds. But then, you know, even then, I thought I'd lose the weight on my own. I think I've always just thought I would lose it on my own without the help of surgery. So I've technically been contemplating surgery as like a last-ditch effort for a decade. So after that trip, I went home, I bought a scale, and weighed myself in October, because it took me a month to get home, and not to get home, but it took me a month to like get my shit together. And I weighed myself in October 2019, and I was 380 pounds. So for all I know, I could have been a lot higher than that, which is what I talked about in my last video. That's my highest recorded weight. I could have been heavier before I started working out in May of 2019. So who knows? So then after that, like I said in my last video as well, sorry, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I then tried to lose weight. I counted calories, I ate in a deficit, I made better choices, I exercised 3 to 4 days a week, I lifted weights, I basically did everything I was supposed to do. I lost 30 pounds. I started seeing 2 different therapists. Well, I was already seeing one therapist, but I started seeing a second one specifically for EMDR and trauma, because I knew that my eating problem came from somewhere. Like I knew at the time I didn't get to be the size, you know, without trauma. So I really started working hard on, you know, doing what I need to do. And then COVID happened, and COVID threw me for a loop. I stopped exercising. I was suffering from some tendonitis in my right knee and joint pain, and I just didn't exercise, basically. Gained back that weight. And then in May of 2020, I was diagnosed formally with an eating disorder, and I have unspecified bulimia, which basically means I restrict and I binge. Which I went into more depth in my last video. And from then I started really trying to work on like intuitive eating and stuff like that. And I thought I was doing pretty good. I went on my second anniversary trip to Tahoe. I did the same things except with a mask. I rafted the river. I swam at Donner Lake. I ski-dooed. I tried to get in a kayak. I flipped it. It was fun. I was much less embarrassed because I knew going into it like what I was expecting. I knew there was a chance I could flip the kayak. And then my mother took a photo of me on that trip that I was just horrified by. So I made her delete it immediately. Now I kind of wish I hadn't made her delete it because, it would be a good before photo. But whatever, it is what it is. And I was really ashamed of myself. I got on the scale again and realized that I had gained another, I gained back 20 of the 30 that I lost the previous year. And I just felt horrible about myself. And the turning point basically was I called my mother crying and she just said to me, Rebecca, when are you going to stop letting your fear control you? And I just sort of stopped, went silent, and thought about it for a while. I was sitting in my car. And then I came inside and I went straight to my husband and I just said, I'm going to get the surgery. Because I've been trying to lose weight for 2 decades without success, and I've been morbidly obese or super morbidly obese for a decade. And I haven't been able to lose weight. I've been able to do nothing but gain. So clearly I need the surgery. The surgery is a tool that works if you use it. And I know how to diet. I know how to track my food. I know how to do all the things that I need to do after surgery. I've been doing them for 20 years. I just need the tool of the smaller stomach to help. So the rest is history. That was, back in mid-September, I think, of this year. So only a few short months ago. And now here we are. I'm just under 2 weeks to my pre-op diet, and I'm for just under 4 weeks to surgery. So rock bottom isn't always one specific incident. It's not cut and dry, and you can hit multiple rock bottoms before you make any changes. But and it's not always the worst that you've ever felt either. I absolutely am sure that I could be worse than this. I am sure that I could destroy my body to the point that I have a heart attack and am in the hospital, and that's when I make the decision. I could take this farther. I could destroy myself farther, but the thing is I realized I'm worth more than that. And that realization of my self-worth, and that I didn't want to be the thing that I've been so scared. Like, it's hard to describe, but basically, in case you didn't know, I'm an indie author and I write books. And one of the things I write is I write strong heroines who do the thing they're scared of. I write women who are not controlled by their fear. And yet I'm sitting here being entirely controlled by my fear. So I was doing the thing that I hate. I was doing the thing that I try to write these characters out of. I try to give them the strength that I don't seem to have. And when I kind of got that perspective, I was like, oh, okay. So you need to be your own hero in your own story. I needed to overcome that intense fear of this surgery and do what I needed to do to get the surgery. Yeah. So the key for me too was also being able to see beyond this moment. This moment is uncomfortable and I'm not okay with it, and it caused me anxiety. It's terrifying. But if I recognize and realize that there's something past this moment, that there is a life to live beyond this surgery, that's exactly what I want it to be. That really helped me kind of visualize that, oh, okay, I can actually do this. So that's it. That's enough. I've already talked for 20 minutes, of course. I freaking knew that I would. my next video, I'll talk about my feelings about surgery specifically, my fears, my frustrations, my anxiety, all of it. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep following my journey. Thank you and take care.